2026. This is a caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start, and my watch is showing 4:01 p.m. May we have a roll call to begin the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Brooks? Not here. Councilperson Zupa?
Here.
Councilperson Efros?
Here.
Councilperson Little?
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore? Councilperson Singh? I think she was here. Actually, okay, she is here, but she's not here right now. Councilperson Griffin? Councilperson Lavaro? And Council President Ridley?
Here.
Yes, I see. Yes. Oh, and here is Councilperson Lavaro. Okay. Wait for him to take a seat. We have 6 council members present at 4:02 p.m. On behalf of Council President Ridley and the members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by posting the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is a schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2026. It was also filed in the Office of the City Clerk on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, March 6th, 2026 at 8:39 p.m. to the Mayor, Municipal Council, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and to the local newspapers, as well as posted on the city's website. So I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Madam President, should we just take it from the top?
I have a list, John.
Okay.
All right. We'll start with Director Banghart.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members.
Good.
Drew Banghart on behalf of the Department of Infrastructure with the Division of Transportation team with me. The first item for today is agenda number 4.1, ordinance 26-010. This is the change in traffic regulation to make Franklin Street a one-way westbound between Palisade Avenue and Central Avenue. Second reading.
Any questions?
Hi, Councilman Lavaro here. It suggested to me that this proposal may have come before the previous city council in some form. Was that?
I don't believe it was presented as ordinance to make this a one-way with the previous council. The grant process started with that administration, but not this particular ordinance.
So there might have been a grant approval previously.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to add the previous council in authorizing the design contract. There was discussion about the design being a one-way conversion. And so there was some discussion among the former council that in order to fund the design consultant process, that would be part of the design. So that was just some background for that.
No further questions.
Thank you all. I look forward to seeing this proposal through tomorrow. I would love to just get any other research. I think my team reached out about some study that's been done around emergency response time mitigation and things, and any information in the last month that infrastructure has about the coordination between infrastructure and public safety. That's all super helpful, so we can communicate that openly to residents in the next couple of days before we take a vote.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw the email. We'll compile all that, get it to you, and we'll probably copy the fire department as well. Some of that data did come from them, so just they're abreast of everything. We did speak about modifications to the current design that will assist in the response times, and have made an effort to go beyond the scope of this grant project to make improvements elsewhere in the surrounding neighborhood.
Yeah, thank you so much. I see Deputy Chief deputy director now over there. So thank you so much. Appreciate the communicativeness.
Welcome.
How you doing? Councilman Griffin here. So at the last council meeting, there was a gentleman, I believe he's a business owner and resident, and he brought up the fact that a truck was trying to leave the shop and go, is Stop and Shop? Stop and Shop, and it got stuck for about 45 minutes. So like, have we looked into that to see what changes can be made? And if so, what are the changes for that?
Yes, we've, or the staff has met with at least one of the store managers in the past. During the pilot program in 2024, they did express sometimes maneuvering the trucks in and out of that driveway off of Franklin becomes difficult when there's cars that are illegally parked or double parked. The current design, and it's going to be modified a little bit in that area as well, will remove parking to eliminate hopefully that conflict. Along with traffic enforcement, to keep that area clear so those vehicles can back in and make their deliveries more safely and more quickly.
So the other concern, in addition to public safety, was about the cardiology, the cardiologist that's on, I think he's on Franklin. It's Michael's cardiologist, but you're going to the doctor. And there was a video that was circulated from the trial run. I know your office had some things you were working on to alleviate congestion around there. If you could speak to that.
Yeah, I don't know the video referenced. If you guys seen video, I guess I'll let Lindsay speak on this a little more, but I don't think there's a major change as part of this design. They have their driveway, they'll have their driveway access, and I think currently they're using some of the driveway for their deliveries, which seem to work.
So I know that one of the things we're going to be doing kind of above and beyond the scope of the grant project will be looking at the congested periods of day that usually coincide with school pickup and drop off. So that's a time that today there's a lot more congestion. Most of the day, Franklin Street is not congested, and we're not anticipating that the bike lane would create further congestion at other times of day. So we're actually working with the deputy mayor for education to have a meeting with the school, as well as Hudson County's Transportation Management Association. We're going to be developing some operational plans to help mitigate some of that school pickup and drop off congestion that occurs. And that should help provide access to the cardiologist as well. As part of the implementation, if this is to pass, we do plan to conduct additional outreach with all of the stakeholders on the corridor. Total Cardiology was one of those big stakeholders that we would take extra time to meet with to make sure they understand what the changes are. We can talk through if there are additional things that we can do to help with congestion management. But that's basically the extent of it at this point.
I would say thank you. That has been the main concern, that it gets really congested during the school pickup and drop off. So if we can figure out a good situation for that, I think other than that, I don't see any issues in that area, right?
Yeah, and we agree. And like Lindsay said, we're going to continue to have conversations with Deputy Mayor Bryant. And frankly, that'll open the door to maybe rolling out, to other schools to help that pickup drop off kind of difficult time of travel, alleviate that. We'll come up with some new ideas, and we can, broadcast that citywide and, hopefully be helpful to the entire city, not just this neighborhood.
So just one more question from me. As far as the 87 bus, if I recall, it travels up and down Franklin. So has there been any conversations with NJ Transit into how they're going to reroute and to ensure that there are streets wide enough for them to go down Palisades to Central Avenue, I believe?
Yeah, it currently only travels westbound, which is the direction of the one-way before you. So it goes from Palisade towards Central. So there's really no change in that bus route.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, 4.3.
Got ahead of me.
So, go ahead.
Agenda item number 4.3, ordinance 26-013. This is establishing a new parking zone known as zone number 20 in the area of, I'd say Pacific Avenue and the Hudson Bergen Light Rail Station off of Johnston.
So just to add a little context, since this is the Ward A area, as a lot of people know, the Hudson Bergen Light Rail lot has suspended overnight parking, and a lot of our residents in that area were using that lot for parking. They are looking to restore some residential parking spots, but I do not have a date on when they will be able to do that. I am hoping to have an answer on that within the next week, but they have things that they're working out on their end procedurally to get that done. I think they are working as quick as they can now because they realize that it is has cut back on their revenue. So that is a positive thing because now they're moving. But before that happened, and now even more so, residents in that area are looking for other solutions to the parking issue. The city of Jersey City does not have authorization over New Jersey Transit, so we have to control what we can. So the Traffic and Engineering Department did receive petitions from residents in the area to implement residential permit parking in this zone. They chose to mirror the current residential permit parking that is present around the Danford station and the Richard Street station. They would apply that same type of parking zone here. And that's why this is coming about at this point. And this would be streets east of Pacific Avenue for now. And we are open to possibly extending or adjusting some of this, but this is what we currently have. Any questions?
Yes, Madam Council President. What would be the feasibility of looking at something similar for the West Side Ave light rail station, that area? We already have, I think it's parking zone 8, but it doesn't, it's kind of block by block. So how much time would your department need to put something together? Or, maybe we could schedule a meeting after this. Obviously, it's not going to take up the whole meeting, but go ahead.
Completely feasible. We'll definitely work with you offline, and set up a meeting and see if it's an amendment and adding streets or, what exactly the plan looks like and, get that going over the next couple council meetings.
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
have petitions or can reach out, get that going, that would help tremendously as well.
We do have some residents who have started petitioning, including Culver between Mallory and 440, Claremont between Kennedy and West Side. But I'll have my office reach out and we can schedule a meeting to discuss further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I jump in then? It's a broader question about this process of zone parking. Is it the petitioning process? Is that written in law? Is that or is that kind of an internal?
I believe it's internal and taking over some of this from the former director. This is kind of my first stab at it, so just to be honest, but it always helps to have those signatures in place and, to present to the whole council that it's something that the neighborhood is looking to do and that there's buy-in from the community. So I think it's good nonetheless if it's legislated or not.
Do you think there's any? I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here because you're not prepared for this question, but is that a process that's been working, or I know you're just new to the role, so.
Yeah, I think it's working. Anything, regardless of the context, if the petitions are there, I think that's, a great starting point, like I said, to have that community buy-in and to move something forward regardless of, what the subject matter is.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Now, I did receive, right before I came to this meeting, I did receive a concern from a resident in regards to the timing, because I think right now this is 24 hours. If we were to, I guess, adjust the timing on this, would that be considered a substantial change if we were to add a time limit into this?
Defer to the Corporation Council on that one.
Probably not.
Okay, okay. Because I'm, as a resident, and I think most people would agree, people really want to have a spot to park when they get off work and for the evening. So I'll reach out offline after this to see if maybe we can add an evening time to this in the meantime. And then I guess the next question, which is really not for your department, but I'll follow up with buildings and streets, because do we have an idea of how long exactly it would take to implement something like this, to actually change the street signs, et cetera?
I don't have that information, no, but
Okay.
I'll gladly help you, in that conversation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
I just want to note that council members Brooks and Griffin were here as of 4:04 PM, and Councilman Gilmore arrived at 4:15.
Director Gigi Gazon.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council members. Welcome to the new faces. It's nice to see you. It's my first time here with you today. We are here for agenda item 10.17. It's a resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract with our vendor Intellectix Inc. To continue the maintenance and development and support for the software and hardware related to the operation of our consolidated affordable housing portal, which some of you are already familiar with. It's affordablehousing.jc.com, as it is better known to our constituents and our residents. The total contract amount we're asking for a one-year renewal is $199,680. Any questions?
Questions?
Sorry. Item is this?
1017.
1017.
So, just so I have a better understanding, this is a platform where all public housing, no, it's not public housing, it's affordable units that were constructed, for example, as part of the IZO.
Right, yeah, so let me just back up a little bit and give folks a little bit of a primer. The Division of Affordable Housing is a brand new division to the city in the sense that it's been around, we're entering our 6th year. We were created by the council and launched in February of 2020. Our prime responsibility right now is municipally mandated affordable housing that is generally part of a redevelopment plan, inclusionary zoning ordinance obligation, affordable housing, or some form of tax abatement that has no other state or federal fundings. So typically anything that would come out of those mechanisms are the things that we are holding for monitoring and compliance and overseeing their marketing plans and their ongoing compliance responsibilities. So I don't know. So that's what's on the portal right now.
Be possible to also incorporate public housing into that portal? Because I'm just thinking, if you're a tenant looking for affordable housing, it doesn't really, I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but like, you probably would be interested in applying to both.
Mm-hmm. The Jersey City Housing Authority does have its own portal, and you can link to that portal when you go to our portal. Our division serves as sort of an air traffic control for anybody who's looking for other things outside of our jurisdiction. Our responsibility is not, even though we don't monitor those for compliance, we do need to know about them. We do know who monitors them. We know points of contact so that we can direct our residents appropriately if we're unable to help them. And that's on the portal. We have a whole resources page that has all of those links.
Okay, that's great. You linked to it already. What would it take for it to all be consolidated?
I'm not sure about the Jersey City Housing Authority, but I have begun preliminary conversations with my director, some other folks in the state legislature, Senator Angela McKnight, even our Representative Menendez Jr. about possibly working on a build out for other buildings that don't fall under our portfolio to be able to access the portal. But that would probably require a different kind of contract, some other, more money. There will be a lot more users coming through and more applications. And just to give you a little bit more background on the portal, the uniqueness of the portal is it has 3 end users. So it's not just the residents being able to apply, it's the developers and the property managers and owners, our administrative agents, running lotteries, processing recertifications and applications on the back end, and then city staff, Division of Affordable Housing, going onto the portal, checking to make sure that all the tenants are in there, that they say in their reporting that are in there. We can look at everything that's being done on the back end. So you've got multiple users and lots of different things going on the back end there. So building that out to accept other agencies that we are not the staff for would require, definitely some sort of a little bit of a study, probably some analysis, and then some solutions to figure out how we could all play in that sandbox nicely.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I think, I don't really have concerns with this contract as it is before us here today, but I think probably long-term it would be beneficial to.
Yeah, and there will absolutely be conversations that I would be bringing to you, members of the council, before we do absolutely anything. The portal has Kaya Sittinger, who's our data analyst and community engagement coordinator. She basically, with one other person, kind of runs point for this portal, and we've seen a lot of success. I mean, we've literally, some of the data that we sent earlier in response to Councilman Gilmore's staff, we'll show you some of the numbers there. One of the numbers to note is that we've had almost 500,000 just traffic, people just viewing the properties, looking to see what's on there, showing you the need that people are looking for a one-stop shop portal such as the one we've created.
500,000?
Of traffic, not applicants, not users, not profile. Those numbers are in the email as well. But all this to say is that almost 500,000 people alone, just from hitting it in a search, go on the page, click around, to poke around, see what's there. They either move on, some of them create profiles. We also have it. We've drilled down to those numbers as well. If you really need them, Kaya can speak more to those.
That's an annual number?
So that number is actually for Q4 of 2025. I don't have the number.
Can't hear you. You gotta get up on.
Close to the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Perfect. That number is for Q4 of 2025. I don't have the exact number of hits for all of 2025. I can say that we have just over 14,000 total registered users. 99% of those are applicant and users.
What was that number?
Just over 14,000.
14,000 registered users.
Mhm.
And do you have a sense of how many actually acquire units, affordable units through the portal?
I believe there are just under 550 total units listed on the portal. That doesn't mean that those are necessarily brand new units that were marketed for the first time directly through the portal. It's a combination of brand new units that took applications for the first time through the portal and units that are legacy units that conducted their lotteries, before the portal was incepted and will be poised to continue taking applications if vacancies arise and they need to remarket and refresh their waiting lists.
I'm sorry, tell me your name again.
Kaya Sittinger. I'm the data analyst and community engagement coordinator for DOAH.
You say Kaya?
Kaya, yes, like Maya with a K.
I'm Kaya. My office will be reaching out. I just want to do a deeper dive with you at some point.
Yeah, sounds great. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
One more thing, we have offered up and have done training for previous council members. Your staff are welcome to call. We have a set of slides. We have an entire training and a briefing on how the portal works and what's there for you. Please reach out to us. We'd be happy to organize those at any time. Are there any other questions about this contract?
Nope, I think we're good, Director.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for your support.
Director Goodman?
Good afternoon, Council President, City Council members. Christine Goodman from the Office of Cultural Affairs. I have 2 items for you today. The first item is 10.10. It is a resolution authorizing the execution of a hold harmless agreement for Grace Church Van Voorst, the use of Grace Church property for the purpose of community meetings throughout 2026.
Questions? Next one.
And the next item is 10.13. This is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to apply for and accept grant funding from the New Jersey Historical Commission for the project A Palace for the People, a major exhibition of the Lowe's Jersey Theater. That would be for fiscal year 2027. We are submitting an application.
Questions?
Director, that'll be through the Museum of Jersey City History, putting on a exhibit there, correct?
Correct. It would be presented at the Museum of Jersey City History in partnership with Friends of the Lowe's, and two residents taking the lead, Nat Kalbach and Chelsea Castro, who both hold certificates in historic preservation. So it will have archival items and oral histories of people who have watched the theater over the years.
I reviewed the proposal. It's fantastic and it's a great project.
We're excited about it. We'll invite everyone if we get the money. So,
Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
thank you.
John McKinney.
Good afternoon, Council. John McKinney, Law Department. The first item is 10.7, Resolution 26-100, which is a resolution authorizing the ratification of a subordination agreement regarding Lafayette House with the street address of 328 Pacific Avenue.
Questions?
So what was the item number again?
10.7.
10.7.
Couple of questions. This project is rentals, condos,
Rentals, I believe.
rentals, okay. And so there was something like 40 some market rate and 2 affordable.
There's 2 affordable units that were given to the city voluntarily. The developer is applying for a HUD-backed loan to cover the entire development. And one of HUD's requirements is that you sign a subordination agreement whenever there's a HUD-backed loan, so they don't have to worry about any foreclosure and proceeding that might be initiated by the city taking precedent over their loan and them losing the money. In this scenario, the city didn't loan them any money to build the affordable units. We just have our affordable housing controls on it through the deed and the affordable housing agreement. So there's no risk to the city with the subordination agreement, as is being able to enforce our affordable restrictions.
So the 2 affordable units are completely voluntary. They're not a requirement of inclusionary zoning or some other.
They were not. They offered it to us out of goodwill.
Well,
Any other questions?
how much are they applying for?
How much have they applied for in the loan?
Yeah, from HUD.
Rebecca, do you have that?
We have to back that application, correct? Is that? No?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Rebecca Mariello. I'm an associate attorney at Connell Foley. We represent the developer here. I have the information for the exact loan amount. If you give me a few minutes to pull up the documents, I can give it to you.
This is huge.
It's okay. I will say this, that I had a whole host of questions, but it didn't presume that this was voluntary. So I don't know that they are, any of them matter. I'm just curious more than anything else now that why is your client a developer? I'm very grateful that they're doing voluntary affordable housing.
So just to give you some background, this project was approved before the planning board, I believe in 2019. It was amended again in 2022. At that time, there was no, like, a lot of times when these developers go before the planning board, they might get like a bonus, and to apply for that bonus, they need to do affordable housing. Like, that was not the case here. There was no mandatory minimum affordable units. This developer, he has many properties throughout the city. He wants to, it is his initiative just to give goodwill to the city where he can, because he's a stakeholder in the city. He has other rental properties here. So he did so voluntarily back in 2019 when he originally got his approvals. I wasn't at Foley in 2019, but I think it was just like overall connecting with the community group, hearing their feedback for this project, and to, get the support he needed to go before the planning board. He gave those 2 units.
That was in 2019. He promised that before there was an IZO.
I'm not sure when the IZO was
It
adopted.
was 2021.
Okay, so then yes, it was before the IZO.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Tell him we said
And-
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Michael Griffin here. Was this property transferred through the JCRA or no?
I don't believe this was owned by the JCRA. This is just a private development. What we did here was when they elected to have the affordable units, we generally have any property that's doing that in Jersey City enter into an affordable housing agreement. And to the extent that they're willing, put it in a deed restriction as well. So that's how this got flagged for HUD, because they saw that the city had a interest in the affordable housing and just wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to jeopardize their loan.
Any additional questions? All right, next, John.
Sure. Next is item 10.12. This is a resolution exercising the city's rights with respect to a March 15th, 2026 deadline set forth in the Fair Housing Act as amended. In a nutshell, per the amendments to the Fair Housing Act, we are supposed to have a finalized housing element and fair share plan adopted by March 15th, 2026. We're currently in discussion with that through a declaratory judgment motion with outside parties, and there's still minor disagreement over what our rehab obligation numbers are going to be, basically how much we already have credits for, how much we're going to have to commit to. That's probably going to be worked out shortly, but in the meantime, by passing this resolution, it immunizes the city from any lawsuits that could potentially happen as a result of not meeting the March 15th deadline.
Questions?
So it basically extends the deadline as we hash out the details.
Correct.
And what's the extension for?
There's no time limit on it referenced, but we will probably have this done in the next couple months, would be my guess.
Okay, got it. So we should just expect to be followed up with in the next few months with some, and that's all public information, correct?
Correct. There'll be a final either decision from the courts, final order from the court saying that everything's above board or a settlement agreement, one or the other.
Okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm misreading this, but was there an application and then something, the decision came back or not?
A couple decisions have come in just because it's a multi-step process. We're basically at the final part here where for our fair share plan, we had a rehab number sent to us by the state, which I believe was about, I'm forgetting the number off the top of my head, but basically our position was we had enough credits to cover all of the rehab obligation that we had. Fair Share Housing Center doesn't necessarily agree with that. There's a lot of paperwork that we need to go through between both parties to figure out which is applicable and which isn't. Once we get through that, we'll be at a number we can agree on and it's done.
Gotcha.
So, just for clarification, are they asking us to build more affordable units than we think we need to?
No, this is separate. So there's two obligations you get from the state under the Fair Housing Act. One is your new construction. We're exempt from that as a qualified urban aid municipality. But then for older units that exist from before, I believe it's either 1980 or 1983, if no work has been done to them, you're supposed to rehabilitate them because they're just assumed to be not necessarily in the greatest state. So we've got a bunch of different paperwork that we're going through showing whether new construction has been done that will count as a credit towards that, or whether or not we need to make some money available towards the rehab of existing units. That's where it comes into the spending plan. Once we know what these numbers are, we can have a finalized spending plan that everyone can agree with.
And forgive me for not fully understanding, the rehab, the units to potentially be rehabbed, are those specifically public housing or are they affordable units in fixed income developments?
So in this scenario, it's all likely going to be public housing as you would understand it just based off the age. Some of this is going to be housing authority properties potentially. Some will be round one COA properties, which were from the mid 80s.
Okay, thank you.
All of it's public.
Yes.
And
Well, depends what we're talking about as public housing here. For how I was understanding it from the council, maybe if we're going to get into a legal definition of public housing versus HMFA financed.
no,
Okay.
public. So then for public housing, we submitted a number, right? Am I following that? We said was I don't know, some number that, of units that we said were in compliance, I guess, or?
So we were given a number by the state, which I want to say was around 3,200 units that might qualify for rehab. You get a certain period of time to say whether that number is correct or it isn't. Part of this process is we're looking at numbers of either future housing to be built towards planning board approvals, housing that has been built, potentially some housing that already has been rehabbed, and just trying to go through a significant amount of paperwork with Fair Share to make sure that the numbers are above board and correct.
I'm following it now more close, better. So both numbers on the private new construction and then the public housing that has to be rehabbed. Could you provide us, is it 3,200? Is that the number that they said?
Approximately 3,200, yeah, if I recall correctly.
And how much on new construction are they?
Zero. We don't have any new construction mandate from the state. We're a qualified urban aid municipality, so statutorily we're exempt at the moment.
And so for 3,200 public, what are we saying do we agree with that? We're just saying we don't agree with that number.
No, we did not dispute the number. We're just trying to find out how much of it we might already have qualified units that would count towards.
I'd like to hear that update at some point.
And I got it. I'll send it your way.
Thanks.
Hey, John, Councilman Griffin here. Question. So the number, the 3,200, right? Now, a couple of questions, like how do they identify these numbers? And two, like if, let's just say they identified, I don't know, 8,000 and said, okay, these are the 8,000, but we're going to pick these 3,200. Is that the case, or or it's every single affordable housing unit that we have that falls under that category? Or do they choose who gets the rehabilitation work?
So basically what happens here is the state identifies the number for us based off of a formula that they use, based off of paperwork that they're able to access, largely looking at the age of properties. And towards that point, the city needs to make money available out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund towards the rehab of some of those units. So that's why we're having the discussion right now, is if we had to potentially rehab approximately 3,200 units, that would be significantly more than if we really only have to rehab, let's say, closer to 1,200. that make sense?
So then, I guess what I'm asking is like with the units, right? Is the state identifying the units or just giving us a number of units and we identify the units?
The state has identified the number of the units. I don't believe we got a report down to location of property.
Right, like locate, right. Now,
That came from the Department of Community Affairs.
okay, so that will also come from the state?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So John, I know recently they, I guess they did something like this at Montgomery Gateway. So essentially the state say, hey, you guys are eligible, or you have, or they mandate, or say you're eligible, whatever it is, this amount of units. And then subsequently, those owners of those establishments, some of them come forward and request the actual, Affordable Housing Trust Fund to do the rehabilitation, or some come forward to do the rehabilitation and trying to get, if the property's already abated, trying to get a longer abatement, because that's what happened with Montgomery Gateway, right?
To some extent, yeah, they got the abatement extended, I think, through a change of ownership, and then
Yes.
they applied for additional funding to rehab the units. Yeah.
Okay. So if the state come back and say, hey, we identify 3,200, right? Now, what if within our inventory, more than 3,200 affordable units meet the requirement? What happens then?
We're only required to fund it to the extent that funds are available. It's probably unlikely that we would have more than what the state has estimated our rehab obligation would be. We've had an outside consultant do the math on this to a large degree. So if it turned out that we might have a higher need, there's nothing preventing us from addressing it, but we're not legally required to do so.
I just didn't want an instance to occur where some establishments got it for the rehab, and then ones who, let's say, haven't been rehabbed a longer period didn't necessarily get it because we've hit that threshold of that number.
So there's a good possibility that this could be part of an application process. I will get you more information on that as this progresses, because if we run out of money, then that could be the issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Dennis, Treasury.
And ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'm Dennis McIntosh of the Division of Treasury. I have one agenda item 10-8, resolution 26099. It's a resolution to cancel outstanding stale checks. Any questions?
You said
Questions? 10-8.
10-6.
Oh,
10-6? Or 10-6?
10, huh?
10-6.
yes, 10-6,
Oh, stale checks.
10.6. Questions?
Hi, Michael Griffin here, counsel at large. Just a question. Can you give me an example of a stale check?
Anything that's outstanding more than 180 days on our checks is considered stale.
So are these checks that we've written and they've
Yes.
never been cashed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The name on it says NJMVC.
It's, they're junk titles.
Your junk titles?
Yes. These checks are made out to the Motor Vehicles Commission.
Motor vehicles?
Yes.
Oh, no, motor vehicles is not cashing our checks?
No, some of them. They might have been reissued.
Yeah, so the council knows, because we went over this last year too, the money doesn't go away. What happens is when they cancel the checks, they put all these funding into a separate account that collects interest, and we save it in case one of the guys comes to us and says, hey, you know, there's motor vehicles, you owe us X amount of money for these CL checks. We can remit payment, but until they do that, we can keep the money and keep on getting interest on it and, you know, yay us.
Okay, so if they approach us, if they approach us, then we would keep the interest and we would just pay them. Okay.
It's just $2,000, right, in total?
It's only $2,000. I believe it's only
penny.
45 items.
Not too much interest.
You have either $60 or $25. There's not many.
It's only 2,000?
Yes.
In this one, Councilman,
If I want to just loan me 2,000?
we're not saving the budget with this, unfortunately.
Hardly any interest, so.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Noble?
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. My name is Noble Varghese. I'm the Director of the Information Technology. And I'm here today with one item before you, Resolution 26-116, Agenda Item 10.23. Agenda Item 10.23. A resolution authorizing a contract to Unicorn HRO LLC for payroll and human resources annual license and support services for the Department of Finance and Human Resources. The total cost of this contract is $405,000 and $600.
Questions?
Yes.
So a little bit more.
1 second.
Yeah. So this has been 5 years with the software. We had a substantial implementation issues. And over the last 3 years, the HR team and the payroll team have worked diligently to try to address as many of the issues as possible. Over the last 10 months, I've had regular meetings with the vendor, essentially going through where we're at now, understanding platforms. They're very responsive to the issues that we've had. We've come on the other side of all of the implementation issues. That's why we're recommending renewing the contract for another 12 months. It was a very painful process. A lot of it is the complexities of the 7 different contracts we have and all of the unique processes that we had to put in place. But we've come into a much better position with the payroll software. They have a relatively good uptime. Like any software, you're never going to get 100% uptime, but they are roughly 98% of the time up. Always, there's going to be issues individually, but I believe all those issues are worked through the Human Resource Department, specifically payroll. So that's why we're recommending to just renew the annual license for 12 months and go from there.
I have some questions, Council President.
Go ahead.
Thank you for, you said uptime. What is uptime?
How long the system's up, right? So anytime like you really can't get in when the systems are down. So they've had a couple of times where they transfer data centers and stuff like that, but other than that, they're very good at notifying us if anything's going to happen. Usually it's on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They try to minimize it. So relatively a really good uptime.
Thank you. And then I sent an email to administration about this and they already acknowledged, but I just want to, for the record, we got some concerns from employees about Unicorn. I'd love to just get a sense of a broader report on what kinds of issues have come across over the past years and what has been with those implementation issues, the various solutions that have been gotten to, because I specifically heard that from employees in the city that despite saying that we've conquered some of these issues, they're still persisting. So I just want to get some specific.
Absolutely. From any like enterprise solution, there's never going to be 100%, right? Like there's always going to be an issue or two that arises. Yeah. Happy to dive into those issues and try to put together a report. I think over the next 12 months, we can really assess it before it comes up. But I think at this point, renewing it, because we're going to run payroll anyway, right? We're going to have to pay our employees next month and the month after. So I think the prudent thing is to do is let us take all those issues that have been reported to you. Let us go back and we'll put together a report over the next quarter and bring it back to you and can kind of go from there.
Okay. And anything, obviously understanding that that might take some time in the next quarter and everything, but anything that we can get in the next couple of days before we vote.
We can have a preliminary stuff out. But if there's specific issues, we would need to research the issues and then make sure we have the right answer rather than.
Got it. So just for, for the next couple of days, if it's possible to get some information on the timestamp. If an employee clocks in, this is what I heard, if an employee clocks in, let's say 6 minutes after a shift started, it would get bumped up to the quarter, so 15 minutes after the shift started, and so they're losing some time.
So we can look at that rule. We can look at that rule and identify if that exists or does not exist. That we can clarify pretty easily.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
And Councilman, we have an update on that one. We're giving you a more comprehensive memo and everything. A couple other councilmen had questions too.
Yeah.
But for that one specifically, no points and losing time. We also checked the W-2s last year just to double verify that. But what happens is Unicorn has a rule where if you clock in at let's say 9:06, we'll do a 9 to 5, a regular job. So if you clock in at 9:06, it actually gives you those 6 minutes of grace. If you clock in at 9:07, then it bumps you up to 9:15. However, the same is true on the back end, where if you work till 5:07, it bumps that up to 5:15 as well. So if you put in your full 8 hours, you get credit for your full 8 hours. If you work less than your full 8 hours, then it's going to deduce some time because you didn't work your full 8 hours. You're an hourly employee, and the city can't pay you for hours not worked. If you're a management employee and salaried, none of that matters to you. It's only for the hourly employees that face that. And again, it's just the system's way of making sure we get the full 8 from you or whatever your actual work schedule would be.
I had heard, and again, this is all really helpful. I had heard it was even the case for salaried employees that they were experiencing this.
Salaried employees, it doesn't matter. They're, you could work 10 hours a day, 5 hours a day. Obviously your manager has to make sure you're getting your correct amount, but you're paid regardless of what hours.
It calculates a 40-hour work week regardless.
Right. Yeah, that would be my assumption.
Yeah, it does.
Just sharing what I heard from.
Yeah, those specific stuffs are easier to answer. So we can, just send us those questions specifically and we can go, because all those rules are defined inside the software.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a different question to Peter. So when I was previously on the council, I thought it was outsourced. I'm just realizing now, is this all an internal insourced and
it's a third-party vendor that provides the software and support for that software, but internally we run our own payroll.
running the payroll internally?
Correct.
Okay. How long have we been doing that now?
I think it's been even before Unicorn, because we had one solution prior to that, and I believe it was majority of it was done in-house through one solution, and then around 21, I think 22 is when they switched over to Unicorn. There was some back-end work that was done before the system went live, but I believe it went live 22 into 23.
Any other questions?
Yes, Noble, so there are other payroll companies out there, right? For instance, there's UltiPro, right? Because I mean, Unicorn seems a little antiquated. And then you have like companies like UltiPro where there's an app where employees can see their hours, they can see their health benefits, they can see whether they have PTO, sick days. I mean, is there capabilities like that?
Yes.
with Unicorn?
Yes, there is. Everyone should be able to see their PTOs right now. It's their setup right now. For additional modules, it costs money. So we can pretty much buy as many modules as we want, but we chose this is what we needed and this is what we've implemented. So if there are other add-ons that we want to do, there's absolutely a cost to it, but it can be done.
Michael, we are in deficit. Don't forget it. No extra expense.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda?
Hi, good evening, Council Presidents, council members. I have two resolutions up for agenda this council meeting. The first one will be Resolution 26-107, Agenda Number 1014. This is the resolution authorizing the award of Jolt Charge to install and operate electric vehicle charging infrastructure in Jersey City. This will include 25 charging stations, fast charging stations, basically evenly distributed amongst the wards of Jersey City. And I distributed also a memo to you all last week. And I thank you all for, or I think the ones that I met with today for giving me the time to talk more and answer any of your questions. And if you have any additional questions.
Which resolution is this?
Joe.
1014, jolt charge.
Oh, this is Joe.
Yes. Questions?
Just a comment. I just want to say thank you to taking time to meet with me and answer my questions. Appreciate that, Amanda. And then we talked about that idea of possibly, and I certainly don't expect it to be resolved by Wednesday, but meters paying for non EVs.
Figuring out some sort of an agreement between EV cars at the locations and also possibly non-EV cars. Yeah, I think that that's something we can definitely explore as we move forward in the process of selecting locations as well.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Next. Thank you. The next resolution that I have is Resolution 26-101, agenda number 10.8. This is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to apply for and accept grant funding from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the Youth Inclusion Initiative Summer Program for 2026. This would provide funding for a 6-week summer program offering youth ages 10 to 20 hands-on training and exposure to environmental careers, workforce development opportunities, and community-based environmental projects. I'm working on an application right now with local organizations where we're going to apply together. The funding is up to $100,000. Questions?
Yes, so when you say job training, like, is this grant looking to pay some of the children or?
Yeah, this would offer those children stipends for.
Stipends?
Yeah, because they will be attending educational classes, essentially. We're in coordination with NJDEP to actually host some of those classes. And at the end of it, we're hoping to also have a more or less community project where we're going to install some sort of element of green infrastructure and maybe a Jersey City park. Right now, we're thinking about a pollinator garden, maybe to some element a rain garden, which will give children hands-on experience as well.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what are the age ranges again for the grant?
16 to 20.
Thank you.
Questions?
This is a question for Peter. Peter, can you send us the breakdown of how many grants the city applies for and how many we get, if you don't already have that information?
We do not, Councilman. We're working on it. We have the larger number, but we're trying to break that down to individual grants. You can see it.
So just for clarification, I think originally you said ages 10 to 20 and then you said 16 to 20. Is it only 16 to 20 that would receive a stipend and the younger teens and tweens would just have the learning experience but not get paid? Is that?
Oh, I apologize. I probably said that wrong. It's about 8 to 10 children that are going to be 16 to 20 in age.
Thank you.
No, that's okay. Sorry.
No, sorry if I misheard. This sounds like a great program and thanks for being proactive about looking for grants.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Matthew?
Good evening, Council President, members of City Council. The Division of Matt DeSilva from the Division of City Planning. City Planning has one item for you tonight. That would be agenda item number 3.1, Ordinance 26015, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City, adopting amendments to the Powerhouse Arts District redevelopment plan. So this amendment incorporates the what some people have called the Queen Latifah Firehouse, because Queen Latifah once owned it, located at 155 Morgan Street, into the Powerhouse Arts District redevelopment plan and assign it to the rehabilitation district. The purpose of this amendment and adding this parcel is to facilitate its redevelopment as a banquet and events facility. The parcel, which has sat vacant and underutilized for several years now, was declared an area in need of redevelopment last year as part of an overall survey of vacant and underutilized properties downtown, is initiated by then Councilman, now Mayor Solomon. That designation brought the parcel owner to the table to partner with Silverman LLC as a developer, of which a representative is here today to speak to the specifics of the development, and requested this rezoning, which would, because the current zoning, the R3 only allows residential uses. This is specifically about opening up commercial uses and the rehabilitation and the maintenance of the historical integrity of the property. Any questions?
I have a question. So you said it's only unit, so we're looking to redo this plan for mixed use building or just commercial?
My understanding is the developer's intention is just commercial. And the rehabilitation district allows a variety of uses.
Okay.
There was a previous residential proposal that had gotten zoning board approval at this location, but it was proven structurally infeasible. And so given the lack of the ability to do an overbuild or build on top of the structure, it was deemed that some sort of commercial or institutional use was likely the best, the most viable future for the property, and adaptive reuse as some sort of banquet or event space.
Okay, and the reason why I asked that is because I don't want us to get in the habit of amending redevelopment plans. So developers can skirt triggering the IZO.
Well,
that's why I asked, was it mixed use or just commercial?
Yeah, so there are no new residential rights created as part of this. All residential rights at the location are pre-existing. If this proposal came with new greater residential density or bulk that was previously allowed, that would indeed trigger the IZO, and therefore would come with an inclusionary requirement. And we are vigilant when we do receive development requests that meet those parameters as set out in chapters 188 and 189. We include language in those redevelopment plans ensuring compliance with the IZO. Every redevelopment plan amendment we've passed since 2021 creates at least 5,000 square feet of new residential floor area or 10 new units of potential residential density, includes those IZO compliance components within. And so there's no IZO element here because we're not creating any new residential development rights.
Thank you. I know developers has agreed of maintaining the historic facade. Just want to state for record purposes that we will be maintaining historic facade for this.
So the language of the plan for the rehabilitation district that this parcel is being added to requires all adaptive reuse and development to adhere to our state historic preservation standards, as well as the Department of the Interior federal standards. If you have questions about the specific envisioned development proposal, Mr. Popkin from Silverman could answer those questions.
Any other questions?
Oh, just the zoning that will apply is R3, correct?
Yes, so that's the existing zoning.
Yeah.
And so if you, there's language basically saying that those rights continue to apply, but by adding this parcel into the plan, we allow uses beyond just residential to be allowed here, as well as provide those strict historic preservation standards to ensure the property's historic character is maintained going forward.
Matthew, my office is going to reach out to you, just get information about R3 standards. I'm not familiar, so just.
Yeah, certainly. That's like so that would be like a 6 around like 6-story residential zone. And so that was the pre-existing standards. A 6-story building is not
Yeah.
feasible here on this location while maintaining the
I'm okay with it.
character, which is required. Yes.
More for my edification. Just-
Yes, certainly. Please reach out. Planning's always happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Matthew. Laura?
There are no questions, Mr. Prophet.
Good afternoon, Council President and Municipal Council. I'm Laura Takuri from the Tax Assessor Office. I'm here for Resolution 26-104, item number 10.11. This resolution authorized the city to use a competitive contract to select a vendor to maintain and update the Jersey City digital tax map pursuant to the NJSA 4011 4.3. The tax maps are essential tool for the tax assessor office. They identify other parcels in the city and are used to record changes such as subdivisions, consolidations, and other property mapping updates. Maintaining accurate tax maps is also a statutory requirement under the New Jersey law. While services related to the tax maps are exempt from the traditional public bidding process under the NJSA 4811-5, the city has chosen to go competitive contracting to solicit and evaluate proposals based on the qualification and experience. This resolution authorized the city to begin the competitive process. Once the proposals are reviewed and the vendor is selected, another resolution will be presented to the council recommending the contract award. Just to give you a backup, we have been using the digital tax map since 2004, which is 22 years ago.
Questions?
Just a brief question. We have a vendor now that has been doing the current tax map because the interactive map we have that I've used seems really great.
Yes, actually, it's the same one that we've been using for the past few years. However, it has.
Yeah, we're just rebidding for it. So when the contract expires, we have to go back to council, put a new contract out, that kind of, this is just, pro form for that.
But it's different from a contract renewal.
Yeah, eventually you can't always renew a contract over a period of time. So we go out, we're gonna do a competitive bid where it could be a new vendor, it could be this vendor, but we give everyone a fair shot to bid at it. And then we usually do a committee that will basically assess the different applications we receive. And based on those applications, make a recommendation which one we should choose.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question?
Thank you. Director Burns?
Hello, Council President Ridley and members of the Municipal Council. My name is Mark Burns, and the Division of Animal Care and Control has 4 items on tonight's agenda for your consideration. The first is item 10.19. It is Resolution 26-112. It's a resolution authorizing a shared service agreement with the town of Guttenberg pursuant to the Uniform Shared Services and Consolidation Act for Jersey City to provide the town of Guttenberg with the services of animal control and animal sheltering.
Questions?
This is the same as the following for Hoboken, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is essentially, we're getting money from these cities, towns and cities to be able to give services to them, but the amount of money that we're getting, does that help us hire and increase our own capacity to deal with animal care and control in Jersey City as well?
Yes, in the 2 years that I've been with the city, both of these arrangements have been beneficial to the city in offsetting costs. The fee that we charge Guttenberg is minimal, but they have their own ACO that delivers animals to us. So considering the size of Guttenberg, their census and the number of animals that they bring to us, even this minimal fee has worked out to be to our advantage.
Okay. Great.
We've been in contract with them before.
Yes, sir.
So with I guess this goes for Hoboken and Guttenberg. The money that we're receiving from them, do we keep all of that, or are we supplying food and medicine as well?
We're supplying medicine for the animals that we take in. After 7 days, they become property of Jersey City.
Okay,
We're using this money to defray costs.
okay. Okay.
So since we've discussed Hoboken, I'll jump to the third item if that's.
Well, if I can
One second.
have some more questions.
Sir.
Yes. Is there a cap on the number of animals serviced to these two municipalities?
There is not. There is a fee should they like to participate in TNR, which is a big buzzword that you're all hearing about. There's an additional fee for that. There is also an additional fee should any of their municipal humane law enforcement officers who replace the SPCA, if they have an animal cruelty case that they bring in, that is the responsibility of the municipality, as that's not a stray animal, that's a police action on the part of the municipality.
When it comes to TNR preferences, is there like a prioritization between their municipalities and ours and so forth?
We do not have a contractual prioritization. I do it first come, first served, and as I'm sure all of you have realized, the Jersey City community is very adamant about their appointments. So we are not unfair to the other municipalities, but we prioritize Jersey City first.
Okay. And lastly, I'm not familiar, you can tell me if it's accurate on, I understand there might be a $10 TNR program.
It's a $10 TNR program for the for the colony cat caretakers is the term, who have registered with the city. That works out for us because we then know where these colonies are, and we have a much better gauge on how many feral cat colonies we'll have within the boundaries of the city.
Still in effect today?
Yes.
Okay.
Outside, if you are not registered with Jersey City as a colony caretaker, it's $75 an animal, which is still a very good rate, but it's not $10. It's only $10 if you're registered with us.
Sorry, just to clarify, that's $10 per animal that comes in and gets the services?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. And how does one register to, how does a cat colony caretaker register?
There's a link on the city website. In 2024, we actually granted out $90,000 to these cat caretakers, which really helped them take a lot of the load for surgeries off of them. We were not able to do that last year, nor are we able to do that this year. When they are not getting surgeries through the city, they're paying at least $100 a surgery to go to a private provider.
Right.
Why it's beneficial to the city, because conservatively, every intact feral cat you'll see will make 10 more. Even if you make it a number of 5 and cut that in half, which is as small as anyone who's serious about this conversation can get. Last year, we fixed 900 feral cats in the city. So that'd be almost 5,000 cats that were roaming in the city right now, not vaccinated, potentially catching and spreading zoonotic disease, specifically rabies, and making 5 to 10 more each. We'd have a health crisis on our hands, at least potentially.
That's 10 kittens per year for each unfixed cat, right?
Potentially.
Yes. And that's conservative. A female feral can make 18 cats a season. And my apologies.
Got
Her
the cat
females
calling
are,
You done let the cat out the bag.
and her females are reproductive at 4 months. So it grows exponentially.
Cat.
And so just to make sure I'm following appropriately, this is 26-114 would be providing the $10 TNR services for colony caretakers that are registered with the city?
Well, not specific colony caretakers, but yes, it's 26-114 is a contract with Adriana Hordinsky doing business as the traveling vet. And she comes in with a whole contained unit, staff, medicine, equipment, and she does both our colony cats, shelter cats, and if we're able to expand it, we're going to be doing low-cost wellness for Jersey City-owned cats. A lot of the issue that we're finding in Jersey City is that people are just unable to keep their own cats. And they're releasing them to the street. So in order to get ahead of that, we've started the pet food pantry where we are accepting donated food. And when you call us and say that you can't keep your animal, if we can, we'll feed your animal for you, whatever it takes to not make it our responsibility, which costs us more money in the long run, or to just let it out and pretend you never had it.
I didn't know that.
And
There are a couple of community people, they are serving cats. Is there any grants we have for local community to do the work? They have been doing it for years, but I don't know if we have any grant for them to feed the stray cats.
We have not, and quite frankly, we should. The Jersey City cat rescue community is the most organized and selfless group that I've encountered in 15 years of doing this. They are saving us so much money and doing so much work on the front lines of this. And all they're asking for is us to provide the surgeries. They're doing great work. They deserve more credit than they get.
Yes, I think those, like, oh my goodness, those ladies are like the best.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. I hope we can figure out a way to get them some funding. They're really doing a number as it relates to.
Yeah.
Agreed, Councilman. They're heroic.
Yeah,
Heroic.
have been doing a lot of work, and I think eventually we should come up with a plan where we can compensate them or raise funds for them. At least they don't have to spend money from their pocket.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't know if we can, the BA and I have spoken at this at length as Director Ivory Green. If we cannot make this whole program any cheaper, we can make it cheaper to Jersey City. And that's by offsetting it with corporate sponsorship and whatever we could find. I would really like to actively pursue that in 2026.
I like that corporate. I think there might be some grants we can look into where they can offer some, even a small dollar amount can be helpful to start with, right?
Absolutely. And Councilman Gilmore's office forwarded us something today about shared services grants that we sent right to the grant office. And we're seeing if we can get in on whatever would help us defray the cost.
Yeah.
one more point that we've started to communicate about. I know my office has been in touch with you all about having an in-house vet eventually.
Yes.
Our understanding was that needed to be a rules change, and that is underway.
Well, it needed to be added to the organizational chart for me to actively pursue it. I've spoken with the BA about that, and he's authorized us to see if we can find. Right now, we're paying per procedure for a whole vet apparatus to come in and help us. And quite frankly, for a municipality of our size, with this level of need, we can't pay a la carte for procedures. We need a vet on staff.
Right.
We need to be able to get ahead of this problem instead of just dealing with it.
Yeah.
Great to hear that that's underway. Thank you.
Thank you. You are doing really a good job. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. My final before I depart.
One second, Mark.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Little, I think, has something.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. And I know we spoke just before the meeting, and we had also previously talked about your searching for a full-time vet, which I fully support as well. And I just wanted to say for the record that this is a not to exceed contract.
So should we be able to find a full-time vet, we can either transfer all of these funds to offset the cost of that, or if we can find some corporate underwriters, do both. Because the need's actually there. And a big part of what no one's really addressing, everyone thinks this is a two-front battle, getting the animals in, getting the animals out. But the cheapest way for us to address this is not to be involved at all. And the way to do that is to help people keep their own animals, help them not reproduce animals anymore if they're not trying to, help them get vaccinations, help them feed their animals. It's cheaper for us to just not be involved if we can do that. But it's not fair to the taxpayers of Jersey City to pay a vet to treat someone's animal. So we need to just have a vet in-house. And that way, when someone's bred 20 cats in their house, it doesn't cost the taxpayers $5,000. It costs the taxpayers a day of our surgeon's work. That's how you get ahead of this in the long run. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish.
Thank you so much.
And my final resolution is Resolution 26-115, a resolution ratifying a professional services agreement between Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services and Dr. Mary Altamare, doing business as Alto Veterinary Services. Dr. Altamare is our vet of record currently. She's been very clear. She thinks we need a vet full-time in-house, and she'd like to turn the reins over to that vet if she can.
Questions?
Director, thank you for your time last week, showing my wife and I around the shelter. You're doing a great job with what was left by Liberty Humane, so thank you. Just ask Peter, there's some outstanding service requests I understand are been going through, making sure that the animals have shelter for when they're outside. And also, when we hire people for the shelter, I think if those requests can go straight to the director to review, I think it'd be helpful. And Director, I'm sure you would agree, for him to have the first look, because, you know, they need help there. And I was just, you know, I know there's, we got a lot of emails this week, bless you, about assignments to the animal shelter. There's a lot of work to be done there. So I just hope you'll be able to assign the people there to get the work done.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else?
Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
John Lynch.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council. Good to see everybody. I'm here. I have 4 resolutions. One is mine. The other 3 are Director Kears. I'm here on behalf of him. He had to leave to handle something. The first one is 10.18, resolution ratifying the award of the contract to Advid to pay street lighting, traffic signals, and associated cameras to provide for their bill management system that we get the bills through PSEG.
Question.
So I'm asking for 1.5 million. It's about 125,000 a month.
So this is the resolution regarding tracking the energy, right? Yeah.
They don't, well, we use their bill management system. They're not tracking energy for us.
Okay, so yeah, when I saw that, I guess my only question is PSEG, they don't track our usage?
Yeah, I mean, everything. So we get bills from PSEG. We get probably about 1,000 bills. Literally, I can show you them all. But anyway, here's the bills that come in right through a spreadsheet. Advid's bill management system breaks it down to 2 invoices for us. One is for the traffic lighting cameras, and the other is for the buildings, which isn't on this week's agenda. That'll be on next week's.
Okay.
So in other words, we would have all these bills. In fact, I have stacks of them in my bag now. I can show you. We have all these bills. We would have to open each one and put a voucher next to it to get it paid. Where Advid has a bill management system, everything gets fed into that through PSEG.
Okay, and this would be a software?
No, it's, well, yeah, it's their software.
Okay.
Any other questions?
John, so it's 1.5 million temporary encumbrance, but $5 million contract.
What's that?
The 1.5 million temporary encumbrance, but a $5 million annual contract.
Yes, that's between both for the buildings and the energy in the buildings and the lighting in the buildings, and the other ones for the traffic signals. So all total, it's a $5 million encumbrance.
So we're paying them and then they pay our energy bills. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's not $5 million to the company.
Right.
They're basically, we're encumbering the funds. They can use that money to pay for us.
Yep. I asked this in a previous meeting, Peter. Do they also do, or someone else analyze our expenditures with utilities to see if there's cost savings, overbilling, things like that are, I remember when I was on the city council, there was a company that did that for us at one time.
Yeah, so we have Kevin Lyons, my department, that actually is tracking some of that down. We did have a company that did the energy side of it. I believe that contract is terminated as of last year. So we're looking at potential new companies and how that bid process would look. We're also looking at phone bills as well, because there's a utility side of it, there's a phone side of it. So we're exploring viable companies that we could potentially utilize to help us save some money going in, forward with our different bills in those areas.
But these guys don't do that.
I do not believe so, but John Lewis can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they don't. They don't. And our main goal is we use them for the bill management system. I mean, we could look into other companies that do that.
Yeah.
And I think that would, Peter, I think that would something more or less fall under like infrastructure. Really do a good audit.
John, this company also does maintenance of our traffic signals and cameras?
No, they don't do the maintenance of that. That's
No. CCTVs, installation, nothing like that?
No, this is all straight billing.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Next, John.
Okay, we got 10.9, resolution authorizing the public sale of 147 motor vehicles and a tire machine through the public surplus.com public auction.
Questions?
Where will the money go? Are these impounded cars?
So these cars were impounded and no one ever picked them up.
What's that?
These cars were impounded and no one ever picked them up.
And where does the money go from all of these sales, if we get sales?
I believe it goes back to our general revenue. So these are, sometimes junk cars abandoned on the streets, that kind of stuff. It's anything that we have to tow off the street into our pound. Some could be newer cars, some could be stolen. There's a lot of things we have to do once they hit our impound yard as far as figuring out, the DMV title on it, the history, et cetera. We do contact or try to contact any owners from. If over a period of time they do not pick them up, legally we're allowed to actually do a public auction, sell those, the proceeds go back to the city. I believe our general revenue to the council's point, and then we can reallocate it, in the future budgets.
How long we store them?
Don't know the exact date. I'd have to get the law department or public safety confirm that, and they can send you, or we can send you an email on that.
I see. And I understand we are also using a lot to save them. So the space, we must be paying for the space to.
It's city-owned property. Yeah, so it's city-owned property underneath the turnpike area that was kind of dilapidated. So, previously, the city had a contract for someone else to do these services for us. These are brought in-house, I think sometime last year or the year before. And we've had mixed reviews with it. So we're going to look to see how we can potentially make it more cost-effective for the city going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, John.
Is there any cost to us for this contract?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's a public bid, so I guess whatever money we make on it.
There's no cost for the actual bid. I think we use software to post it or do some kind of online advertising for it, but the costs are minimal.
It's just a portion of the sale or something like that? Is that how that works?
No, I believe it's a fixed fee.
It's a fixed fee.
Yeah.
How does the, I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was saying, if a Jersey City resident wants to buy one of the used cars, how do they get there?
They answer the public auction, show up on time, have cash in hand, and make their bid.
Rolando will be there tomorrow.
Rolando, you looking for a car?
So, John, have we ever taken any cars that were in good condition and used them at DPW for like city vehicles or anything like that for employees?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure we can.
Is that something we can do?
Public safety does a forfeiture where they can use some of the vehicles for certain undercover operations or things like that.
Okay.
But it's not something that we can.
So public, okay, but we are getting use out of them if we need.
Potentially, yes. There's a lot of legal hurdles to go through that.
Okay.
But most of these vehicles are either junk or towards the end of their life. Most people are not leaving their brand new Cadillac Escalade to the city and, hoping nothing happens to it.
Yeah.
Probably cheaper for them to leave it there.
True.
Speaking of, do we have an audit of the city-owned vehicles and where they're assigned?
We do. Every time we do a city audit or we do the annual audit, we have to get that information for the auditors and provide the information to them. So we can give you the latest one if you'd like it.
Yeah, request that too. Thank you.
Any other questions? Next.
Okay, 10:15, resolution authorizing the award the contract to Trius for street sweeper brushes for the equipment needed for our street sweepers.
Questions? Next,
Okay,
Can I just interrupt?
back up.
Just take it back up. There are $6,000 Harley Davidsons on these, on this list. Nice stuff up there. Just.
Go ahead, John. Next one.
10.16, resolution authorizing the contract to W.E. Timmerman for parts and repair services for the city fleet through Education Services Commission, formerly Middlesex Regional Educational Services for the Department of Public Works Automotive Maintenance. This is for a co-op, so this is where we actually get some economies based on public entities and purchasing goods and services.
Questions? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Acting Deputy Director Lauren Hart.
Good evening, Council President, council members. I just wanted to make myself available for item 4.1. If you have any questions from the Department of Public Safety Division of Fire, I believe Infrastructure spoke already at length about it.
Which item were we looking at?
Question 4.1, that is
Franklin-
the
the
Franklin
Street
Street.
Ordinance.
Any questions for public safety?
Deputy Director, thank you for being here, and thank you for attending the community meeting that Councilman Efros and I hosted in the Heights. You and I spoke offline after that meeting, and there were some concerns that the public raised about response times. And you and I spoke that you were working with the Department of Infrastructure to alleviate those concerns. Could you just give us an update from public safety's perspective?
That's correct. So what we did, we took a snapshot when we did the pilot, any responses that we had in that area compared to what the response times were during that window of the pilot versus our normal response times outside that pilot. We noticed about a 1 minute increase for the 4 or 5 incidents we had at that time. So we've worked closely with the infrastructure. They're going to implement at least 2 processes, which should help mitigate that slight increase. And we'd love to take a pilot and do that. Spoke to them and they said that would work with us as they implement the program to make sure that these things are addressed.
All right, I think you're being humble too. Our fire department has response times that are best in the country, right? Compared to a relatively sized city.
Yes.
Okay, so the concerns about elevated response times could be alarming to the public, but in reality, is it fair to say that the response times are still within better than national average for a similarly sized city?
We try to assemble a complete first alarm within 7 minutes. So, you know, our first 2 units will get there within a reasonable amount of time. There is going to be a slight increase, but again, I feel like though the infrastructure department is working with us to address these slight increases in the response times.
And those response times could be increased if there's a double parked car as well, correct?
Correct. That's why some of the implementations that infrastructure is taking care of, curb cutouts and things that'll help reduce the incidence of double parked cars or illegally parked cars.
Okay, and are you confident that our fire department can continue to deliver excellent service with the Franklin Street bike lane?
I would say that we are concerned about the increase in response times, but we always go above and beyond to protect our residents.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, take it from the top, John.
Okay, we have one first reading ordinance, which we already heard about today. We have 4 second reading ordinances. Item 4.1, we just heard from the director. Item 4.2, ordinance 26-011, an ordinance authorizing the city of Jersey City as tenant to extend for a 2-year lease with 18 Ash Street Realty as landlord for a space located at 46 State Street in Jersey City. Any questions on that?
No, that's.
No. Very well.
1 second, John.
Yes, I do have a question, Council President. Thank you. I think I asked last time, like, some information about why we're paying the 40% in property taxes on this lease, and if there's any kind of future where we can get out of that clause of the lease, considering the budget deficit that we're in? And yeah, just what's the history there of why we're paying this portion of property taxes?
They've always done it that way. I think they did it as a protection against if property taxes go through the roof, it kind of encumbers that. If we did not have that agreement in there, they would demand another form of compensation and another amount. And we would have to, we'd still pay it. It's not like they're just adding that on top of everything. They would just give us a number and we'd have to agree to that number or, deny it. And that could or could not work in our favor depending on, what happens with the property taxes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, John.
Okay. Agenda item 4.3, ordinance 26-013, we heard from earlier today. Agenda item 4.4, ordinance 26-014, an ordinance of the Jersey City Municipal Council amending the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance, Chapter 345, Article 1, Section 6, Definitions. Chapter 345, Article 5, Section 62, Residential Design Standards, and Chapter 345, Article 5, Section 63, Non-Residential Design Standards. There will be a public hearing on the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. There are 28 listed speakers here, but I am confident that number will grow between now and Wednesday. Unless,
John,
yes,
hey, just really quickly, can I ask Jillian a question about the budget? Jackson Hill, a couple of people have been asking me, so. So Jillian, there's just one question that people have been asking me, and it's like a breakdown for the 109,000 for beautification. Now I know what it is, but can you just put on record, or say on record what Jackson Hill is looking to do with that money?
Good afternoon, Council President and council members. So the $106,000, that we were looking for beautification will include planters and sanitation, any kind of painting or mural work that we'll do in the community. We're having conversations with local community groups and with our stakeholders, the property owners, to figure out what those projects need to look like. So ultimately, that's what the money's going to be used for. And that is UEZ funding that's set aside for reimbursables.
Jillian, how much are we spending on cleaning the area?
So just some background. So I joined the organization in 2024, and at that time we were working with CDS, and they were doing our cleaning for the entire district, the 2.5 mile length of it, for half of our budget amount. So we, when we were doing our restructuring of the organization, we worked with the city, Kevin Lyons at the BA's office, and Scott Williams helped us identify seasonal workers that could help do the work on the ground for us. And we took those folks on for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so. And we also worked with a partner. So we were looking at like maybe about $50,000 at the time. That was last year. But now we have hired on part-time employees, and we're spending around $80,000 with local hires included. Yeah.
So as when we are connecting with people, that is the main issue, that cleanliness and safety security.
Certainly.
So I think you are taking care of cleanliness, but how about safety security? How are we there?
So that's a work in progress. And so there are many, we have a great relationship with the South District and the West District. So if there are any issues, we reach out to them immediately. And we're right in the center of with the hub and the police, the public safety building. So we have access, and we do not underutilize our relationships with council members, et cetera, to make sure that any issues that come up, we address. But I think that the safety of walking the district is good. You know, you want to be able to look into the shops that are open. And we have a lot of window coverage, so we're going to be working on that, making sure that the business owners reduce the amount of obstructed window space so that everybody can see into the 20% that's allowable. So we're working on it. So we're taking our time, but working on it. And open to any recommendations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to add on that one, we, it's difficult being a SID, right? Because the supplemental programs you have to put in place, get very expensive. When we first started, cleaning was $190, and then police off duty was $60,000 a year, right? So that's $240. If you look at the budget is $247, right? So the SIDs, being in the neighborhood that we're in with MLK and Monticello, you can't overburden the property owners in assessing assessing them more, right? But there's some creative things I know Jackson Hill is doing. I've been meeting with them, so the budget, I understand why the budget is the way it is, and people just need to chip in. I mean, it's technically by law, people should be sweeping in front of their doors, right? Safety I get, right? And we have we have 2 police stations just off of the Main Street, right? We have the West District, which is on MLK, but it's right at Monticello, who they've been a great partner with the SID. And then, we have the South District, which is right next to Snyder High School, which is a block away from the district. And, they've been a good partner as well. But, when it comes to safety, I think that, that's something that public safety, that's something that we need to talk to them about. And not just for Jackson Hill, but for, all the business districts as well.
I have a brief question, if I may. Could you help me understand the difference between there's the accepting the assessment role, and then there's the adopting and ratifying the budget? So I understand that the assessments are separate from the actual budgeting, but then I think 1 or 2 council meetings ago, I thought we had adopted budget at that point. Jackson said.
One second, Mike, let's let our BA explain the difference, or our corp counsel explain the difference in the.
I was going to see what the councilman had to say to make sure.
He's taking on a new role. We're not paying him for that role.
Anyone who wants to answer.
Well, Councilman, feel free if I'm wrong with this to correct me, because I'm no expert myself.
He will correct you.
But the assessment is basically how we do the taxes with the appropriate amount of money for them, and the budget we adopt it, so they can spend that money. For the council to kind of vote on both of those, whereas for the assessment, you're basically codifying how much they're going to bring in from the tax revenue base, and then with the budget portion of that, it's basically them showing you and showing publicly what the money will be spent on, because a part of that has UAZ funding and things that coordinate with the city as well. So it's a 2-part approval based on that.
A couple meetings ago, did we not hear an item on the budget of the?
I believe we may have. I'd have to double check that. I don't. Usually they either come together or separately. But
Okay, so initially, once it wasn't adopted, so you have to put it on you have to create a resolution so it can be public public notice, right? So that was last month, right? Like two meetings ago. So it's like 28 days. It's public notice for 28 days, and then that 28 days, then it comes back as another resolution where the adoptions happen.
Right. Thank you for clarifying.
And for everyone's knowledge, if there's more information about SIDs and how they work, they actually get run through the clerk's office. And, our clerk is wonderful, as everyone knows. He's very knowledgeable of that stuff too. So I feel free to everyone to reach out to our clerk or John Hallinan, who's shaking his head at me, who's, taking on a lot of those responsibilities too.
I'm shaking my head in the affirmative, agreeing with you about how wonderful we are and all the superlatives you use.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian.
Or you can reach out to my office. I'm the former president of Jacksonville. That's right.
The councilman has office hours if you want to stop by.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. The next item on the agenda are the petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.25. Are there any questions on those? Hearing none, the next.
Yes. May I just request a copy of 6.6, please?
Sure. If you wouldn't mind, would you send me an email? We'll get that for you.
Or yeah, I'll have my staff send over. Thank you.
The next item is the officer communications. There are none listed. Agenda item 8, which are the reports of directors. Agenda items 8.1 through 8.3.
I'd also like a copy of those communications. Well, we have the EO is public, but 8.2 would be great.
I would request the same.
Okay,
Sounds important.
we'll make sure to do that. The claims, agenda item 9.1 and agenda item 9.2. Any questions on those? Moving on to the resolutions.
I was looking at council president. Sorry, I should have
Right.
opened my mouth and used words.
Question on the claims?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think it's claims addendum. There's a $14 million payment to Jersey City. Is that the payroll tax?
Yes, that's the fourth quarter payroll tax, Councilman.
Fourth quarter of 2025.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's it. It's good. 14 million.
On to the resolutions. Agenda item 10.1, resolution 26-094, a resolution authorizing the settlement of the action entitled Kenyatta Kelly versus City of Jersey City et al., docket number HUD-L-376-24.
Questions? Any highly sensitive questions? We'll ask that you discuss
Yeah.
online with Corp Counsel, but any public questions right now?
All the questions. Just to let you know that, thank you for the memo, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but if I do have any questions, I'll ask you before.
Sure, and also for council's benefit, I'll just flag that the memo that I circulated this past weekend pertains to the final 3 resolutions, so we can answer questions when we get there. This particular item, 10.1, is a settlement that was detailed in my correspondence to the council on February 23rd, which provided an update about all of the litigation pending in the city, including upcoming settlements. So you'll find a description of this matter in that memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions offline. I will also flag for the record that this was a settlement that was authorized by my predecessor, and so there may be some questions that I can't answer.
Okay.
Next.
Agenda item 10.2, resolution 26-095, a resolution accepting the 2026 assessment roll of the Jackson Hill Main Street Improvement District of the City of Jersey City.
Next.
Agenda item 10.3, resolution 26-096, a resolution adopting and ratifying the 2026 budget of the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District in the City of Jersey City.
Next one, John.
Agenda item 10.4, resolution 26-097, a resolution celebrating March 31st as Transgender Day of Visibility in Jersey City.
I have a quick question. I don't know who put forward this ordinance, but would we be open to like inviting community groups and moving this to the top of the meeting? Yeah. Has anyone already reached out to the community groups or?
Whose ordinance is it?
It's the LGBTQ task force, I believe.
Okay, okay, that's okay.
We're on resolution 10.4 we're on, or 26-097.
Correct. That's the mayor's task force for LGBTQ, established in the previous mayor, but obviously inherited and supported under the current mayor.
Is that the same day as the flag raising?
Okay, okay,
No.
okay, so we should move this to the top of the meeting so they don't have to sit through all the comments. Okay.
Yeah, you would just make a motion to defer to that agenda item. Okay. All right, any other questions or comments?
No, go ahead.
If not, agenda item 10.5, resolution 26-098, a resolution appointing Tiffany McQuarrie as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board.
Questions?
Okay. We already heard from members of the administration regarding agenda items 10.6 all the way through 10.23. Agenda item 10.24, resolution 26-117, a resolution ratifying the award of a professional service agreement with the law firm of Bennett, Bricklin, and Salzburg LLC to represent Officer Felix De Jesus in the matter of Andrew Washington versus City of Jersey City.
Questions?
Yeah, yes. I realize I don't know what questions will be sensitive and what won't be, but for this and the following resolution, I just want to understand the consequences of a no vote or an abstention.
Sure. So this is detailed in the memo that I circulated this weekend, but for the public record, I'll share what I can share publicly, which is that the city has a legal obligation to obtain representation, so either to provide it internally or obtain it from outside counsel for city employees and officers who are sued for conduct in the course of their official business. Where there is a conflict, and so the city itself cannot represent an employee or an officer through the law department, that legal obligation requires that we obtain outside counsel. In this case, there are two separate officers with whom the city has a legal conflict because the city's interests, the city's legal position could diverge from the officers. The officers are separately situated from each other and also from all of the other city officers that the law department will continue to represent in this litigation. And so we have a legal obligation to obtain firms to represent these two officers. If we fail to, they could sue the city and they would likely prevail.
These two cases relevant to 26-117 and 26-118, for those two resolutions, are they pursuant to the same legal case as the one that the city is representing?
That's correct. It's all one litigation. These are two individual defendants in that same case.
And just to be clear, if we were to refuse to provide this legal representation, they would be within their rights to sue us and it would be a slam dunk for them most likely. And so it would essentially be gifting the officers money. Is that your assessment?
I would not state on the record that any case the city would be a clear winner, but they certainly would have a non-frivolous basis to sue the city and seek to recoup the cost of their representation, plus potentially additional interest, penalties, et cetera.
I would say it on the record. I think it's part of their contract that we hire lawyers to represent them in all cases, so.
It's not only part of their contract, it's actually a state law mandate, and you can find all of the citations in the memo from the law department.
So I'm in a unique situation, right? And as well as the councilman, we have personal relationships with the family. So I'm looking at abstaining. I can't vote on this. So what?
Law department would certainly not counsel you to vote in a matter where you have a conflict of interest. And if this is that case, then it is absolutely your prerogative to abstain.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, Sarah, the bigger question, as always with me with these cases with officers involved is, if we get to a point where no agreement or settlement can be reached and we go to court and I guess the plaintiffs win, at what point do we look internally to, how can I say this? At what point do we look internally to see I don't know if you can, I'm trying to, without getting myself in trouble or getting anybody else in trouble. I'm just trying to figure out, like, an instance when officers are represented by the city and we go to trial and we lose, like, at what point does the onus fall back on them? If that makes sense.
This is a very thorny legal question. Generally, courts have very expansively interpreted municipal obligations to represent their employees and officers. There may be an argument that there is some conduct that warrants the city either not raising certain defenses or immunities or discontinuing representation, or in extreme cases, declining to fulfill what is otherwise a statutory obligation. That is really unclear legal ground. The law department would be happy to provide a memo summarizing the current state of affairs, but there are no clear lines on this issue.
And a hypothetical question. Let's say if an officer is involved in the infraction and the department deems that his behaviors warrant a removal, are we still on the hook for representation, being that they were under Jersey City when the infraction occurred?
That's correct. The city is obligated to provide representation for anyone in connection with an incident that occurred in the course of their official conduct.
Even if they were terminated?
There may be cases where the city mounts the defense that this was outside of the official course of business, and so the city should be dismissed from a litigation unless we can establish that the conduct at issue is fully outside of course of official duty, which is a pretty big umbrella. That's when our obligation attaches. And to be clear, all of this is about hypothetical future cases.
Okay.
The city is still defending actively though, right?
The city is still defending itself as well as all of the other officers who do not have conflicts with the city's interests. It is just the 2 officers who are named defendants who do have specific conflicts who we're engaging outside counsel for.
Yeah, so my only concern was, well, not only, but my concern with the contract I was going to ask about was the hourly rate, because in my experience being outside counsel, these attorneys are going to piggyback off of everything the city does as lead counsel. For the most part, until, if this case were to go to trial, and kind of double up their work, I thought a lower rate would have been acceptable, to the point that Eric Bennett's office would still accept it, because I know they do work for a lot of municipalities at a much lower rate. So it was just a concern I had. If you can speak to that, please, Sarah.
Each of these contracts is for representation in this case and in this case alone. So this is not a backdoor for these firms to provide additional services on litigations. They're explicitly being retained for the purpose of this particular representation. This is detailed in the memo that we circulated, but it is the law department's position that this hourly rate and this number of hours is what is necessary for this contract. I can assure the council that we have extensively negotiated rates. It was difficult to obtain representation in this case. This is a case with potentially high exposure for the city. It is a case that has very high national attention, high profile matter. It is in federal court. And so finding a firm with the expertise to take on this matter, that's willing to take on this matter, is not necessarily a shoo-in. So the law department will represent to you that we feel strongly this is the best representation at the best rate that we're going to get for this case.
Any other questions? Next, John.
Hearing none. Agenda item 10.25, resolution 26-118, a resolution ratifying the award of a professional service agreement with the law firm of O'Toole Scrivo LLC to represent Officer Stephen Gigante in the matter of Andrew Washington versus City of Jersey City.
Next, I think we kind of covered both.
And the last item 10.26, resolution 26-119, a resolution ratifying the award of a professional service agreement with the law firm of Murphy Orlando LLC to provide legal advice and counsel to represent the City of Jersey City and Robert Kearns in the matter of Norham Mansour versus City of Jersey City and Robert Kearns.
Questions?
If there are no motion made by Gilmore.
Can't believe it. This is
Second.
I think it was Councilperson Singh who provided that second. All in favor of adjourning at 5:59 PM by acclamation, please say
I
aye.
can't believe it.
Any nays? Any abstentions? That was approved unanimously. We are off the record at 5:59.
Ah. 2 hours. Unbelievable. What? That I was looking for last 2 hours.